The world stopped when Meghan Markle posted that video. There she was, lounging in the back of a luxury limousine rolling through the streets of Paris, her feet casually propped up on the seat, living her best glamorous life. The camera captured her smiling, radiant, completely at ease as the city of light sparkled around her. It looked like just another day in the life of a duchess turned Hollywood powerhouse. But then someone checked the location data, and everything exploded. That limousine was cruising just 1 mile from the Pont tunnel, the exact spot where Princess Diana took her last breath, the place where Harry's mother died in a horrific car crash while being chased by paparazzi, the sacred ground that has haunted Prince Harry for nearly 3 decades. And Meghan had just posted herself living it up in the same neighborhood, completely carefree, as if the weight of that history meant absolutely nothing. The backlash was instantaneous and brutal. Social media erupted within minutes. Royal watchers, casual observers, even people who had defended Meghan through every previous scandal were left speechless. The comments section became a war zone. How could she be so insensitive? How could she not realize what that location meant? And most damning of all, how could the woman who constantly compared herself to Diana, who built her entire public persona around being the modern version of the people's princess, be so staggeringly tone-deaf about the place where Diana's life ended? But the public fury was nothing compared to what was reportedly happening behind closed doors. Sources close to the couple claim that when Harry saw the video, he absolutely lost it. Insiders whisper that he went pale, his hands shaking as he watched his wife smiling and posing in the same area where his mother's life was stolen from her. The same streets where paparazzi chased Diana to her death were now being used as a backdrop for Meghan's glamorous content, and she had posted it for the world to see. Word on the street suggests Harry demanded to know how this could happen. How could Meghan, of all people, not understand the gravity of that location? She knew his history, she knew his trauma, she knew that he still had nightmares about that tunnel, about the paparazzi, about losing his mother in such a horrific way, and yet there she was, living her best life just blocks away from the site of his greatest tragedy. Royal insiders claim this wasn't just another argument. This was a full-scale eruption, the kind of fight that shakes the foundation of a marriage, the kind of moment where years of tension, resentment, and unspoken frustration come pouring out all at once. And according to those close to the situation, Meghan's response only made things infinitely worse. Because instead of apologizing, instead of acknowledging the pain she had caused, sources say she doubled down and defended her decision to post the video. Behind the closed doors of their Montecito mansion, insiders claim World War III erupted. According to sources close to the situation, Harry confronted Meghan with a level of anger she had rarely seen from him. This wasn't the quiet, controlled prince who had learned to bite his tongue during years of royal protocol. This was a man who had reached his absolute breaking point. Palace insiders whisper that Harry's voice could be heard throughout the house. He allegedly demanded answers. How could she possibly think this was acceptable? Did she not consider his feelings for even a second? Did the location mean nothing to her? Sources claim he kept repeating one devastating question over and over again. How could the woman he loved, the woman he had given up everything for, be so callous about the place where his mother died? But here's where things took an even darker turn. According to reports surfacing from those close to the couple, Meghan refused to back down. Word in Hollywood circles suggests she fired back with equal intensity, accusing Harry of being overly sensitive and trying to control her content. She allegedly argued that she had every right to post whatever she wanted, wherever she wanted. The world didn't revolve around his trauma, and she was tired of walking on eggshells around his feelings about Diana. The buzz in royal circles is that Harry was absolutely blindsided by her response. He had expected remorse, maybe even tears and an apology. Instead, sources speculate he got defiance and justification. Meghan allegedly told him that people were overreacting, that the video was innocent, and that everyone was making connections that didn't exist. She reportedly accused critics of manufacturing outrage just to attack her, as they always did. Insiders claim Harry tried to explain the deeper issue. This wasn't about controlling her social media or limiting her freedom. This was about respect. About understanding that some places carried too much pain, too much history, to be used as backdrops for glamorous lifestyle content. The tunnel where his mother died wasn't just another location in Paris. It was sacred ground, and she had treated it like any other photo opportunity. But according to sources close to the situation, Meghan wasn't hearing it. Reports are surfacing that she accused Harry of letting the royal family and the British media manipulate him even from across the ocean. She allegedly claimed he was still trapped in their narrative, still letting them dictate what she could and couldn't do. And that accusation, insiders whisper, cut Harry deeper than anything else she could have said. The fight allegedly went on for hours. Staff members reportedly heard doors slamming, voices rising and falling. long stretches of painful silence followed by more heated exchanges. By the time the sun set over California, sources claim the damage was done. Harry had allegedly retreated to the guest house, refusing to sleep in the same room as Meghan. And for the first time in their marriage, whispers suggest he was questioning whether the woman he had sacrificed everything for actually understood him at all. To understand why this Paris video became an absolute catastrophe, you have to understand what that tunnel means to Harry. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel isn't just a location on a map. It's the place where his entire world shattered, where he lost the one person who made him feel truly loved and protected, where his childhood ended in the most brutal, public way imaginable. Harry was only 12 years old when he got the news that his mother had been in a car accident in Paris, 12 years old when he learned she was dead, 12 years old when he had to walk behind her coffin while millions of people watched and cameras flashed in his face. And the worst part, the detail that has haunted him every single day since, is that she died being chased by paparazzi. The very people who had made her life miserable were there in her final moments, cameras clicking as her life slipped away. Sources close to Harry have always said he carries tremendous guilt about that night. He's spoken publicly about the trauma, about the nightmares, about the anger that still consumes him when he thinks about the photographers who chased his mother through those Paris streets. He's talked about walking through that tunnel himself years later, trying to understand what happened, trying to piece together the final moments of her life. It nearly destroyed him. And then there's the paparazzi element that makes this even more devastating. Harry has spent his entire adult life battling the press, fighting against the same invasive photography that killed Diana. He's filed lawsuits, given emotional testimony, broken down in court describing his fear that history would repeat itself with Meghan. He's compared their situation to his mother's over and over again, warning that the aggressive media attention could lead to another tragedy. So when Meghan posted that video, allegedly chasing attention and flashbulbs in the same city where Diana died, insiders claim Harry saw it as the ultimate betrayal. Here he was, spending years trying to protect his wife from the same fate as his mother, and she was apparently courting that exact attention in the one place that should have been off limits forever. Royal commentators have pointed out the cruel irony. Meghan has built so much of her public image around Diana. She's worn Diana's jewelry, visited Diana's favorite charities, even given interviews sitting in the same spot where Diana gave her most famous confessional. She's encouraged comparisons, allowed people to call her the new people's princess, positioned herself as Diana's spiritual successor, and yet, according to critics, she showed absolutely no awareness or sensitivity about the place where Diana's life ended. The location wasn't some random street in Paris. It was less than a mile from the tunnel, the same neighborhood where paparazzi swarmed Diana's car, the same area where Harry's trauma was born, and Meghan had allegedly turned it into content, into a glamorous backdrop for her carefully curated lifestyle brand. For Harry, sources whisper, that wasn't just insensitive, it was unforgivable. This Paris video disaster didn't happen in a vacuum. Royal watchers have been documenting what they call Meghan's calculated use of Diana's memory for years now, and this latest incident has brought all of those previous controversies roaring back into the spotlight. Critics argue that Meghan has consistently invoked Diana when it benefits her brand, but shows remarkably little sensitivity to the actual pain and trauma associated with the late princess. Remember when Meghan wore Diana's bracelet for that bombshell Oprah interview? The same interview where she made explosive allegations against the royal family while wearing a piece of jewelry that once belonged to Harry's mother? Royal commentators called it a strategic choice, a visual reminder to viewers that Meghan saw herself as Diana's heir, facing similar persecution from the institution. But critics saw something else entirely. They saw a woman using a dead woman's memory as a prop to strengthen her own narrative. Then there was the Archewell Foundation's focus on causes Diana championed: landmine awareness, AIDS research, homelessness initiatives. On the surface, it looked like beautiful tribute, but insiders from various charities have quietly suggested that Meghan's involvement often felt more about photo opportunities than genuine commitment. Sources in the charity world whisper that she wanted the Diana association without putting in the decades of unglamorous groundwork that Diana actually did. And let's not forget the constant media comparisons that Meghan never seemed to discourage. Every time a tabloid called her the new Diana, every time a headline drew parallels between their struggles, Meghan's team allegedly did nothing to shut it down. In fact, according to PR analysts, they seemed to encourage it. The narrative of Meghan as a modern Diana facing similar persecution became central to her public identity. She was the outsider, the rule breaker, the woman too authentic for the stuffy institution, just like Diana supposedly was. But here's where the Paris video exposes the uncomfortable truth that critics have been pointing out all along. According to royal experts, Meghan wanted the glamorous parts of being compared to Diana. She wanted the jewelry, the charitable associations, the sympathetic narrative of being mistreated by the palace. But she apparently didn't want to actually respect the painful realities of Diana's life and death. She wanted the crown without acknowledging the cost. The backlash this time feels different, though. Even some of Meghan's most loyal defenders are struggling to justify this one. Social media pages that typically support the Sussexes have gone eerily quiet. Royal commentators who usually give Meghan the benefit of the doubt are calling this indefensible, and sources close to Hollywood circles suggest that even her celebrity friends are privately questioning her judgment on this one. The phrase that keeps appearing in comment sections and think pieces is brutally simple: if you're going to build your entire brand around being Diana 2.0, then you need to show some actual respect for where Diana died. You can't have it both ways. You can't invoke her memory when it serves you, and then ignore it when it's inconvenient for your content calendar. Behind the scenes, insiders claim this Paris video was part of a much bigger strategic plan that has now blown up spectacularly in Meghan's face. According to sources close to her team, Meghan has been desperately trying to rebrand herself as a global lifestyle influencer, someone who embodies luxury, sophistication, and effortless glamour. Paris was supposed to be the perfect backdrop for that reinvention. Instead, it became her biggest public relations nightmare in years. Word in Hollywood circles suggests Meghan's advisors had mapped out an entire Paris content strategy. She was supposed to be photographed at high-end restaurants, luxury boutiques, fashion shows. The goal, according to industry insiders, was to shift her image away from the bitter ex-royal narrative and towards something more aspirational and commercially viable. She needed to look like someone brands would want to partner with, someone who could sell products and lifestyle dreams to millions of followers. But here's where things get really interesting. Sources speculate that Harry warned her about going to Paris at all. Reports are surfacing that he allegedly begged her to choose literally any other city for her glamorous content creation. London, Milan, New York, anywhere but Paris. According to those close to the situation, he explained that the city carried too much emotional weight for him, too many traumatic associations. He couldn't watch her turn Paris into a playground when it represented the darkest chapter of his life. Meghan allegedly dismissed his concerns. Insiders claim she told him he needed to move past his trauma, that she couldn't put her entire career on hold because of his hang-ups about one city. Paris was essential for the luxury brand image she was building. It was the fashion capital of the world, the city of romance and sophistication. Skipping it would be a massive strategic mistake, and she wasn't willing to sacrifice her professional goals for his emotional baggage. The buzz from sources close to her team is that Meghan genuinely believed the public would eat up the Paris content. Her advisors allegedly told her that people wanted to see her thriving, living her best life, showing the world that she had moved beyond the royal drama. They thought the glamorous European aesthetic would play beautifully on social media, generating the kind of engagement that brands pay millions for. They thought they had this whole thing figured out. What they apparently didn't factor in was the specific location of that tunnel. According to PR experts now analyzing the disaster, someone on Meghan's team should have been checking GPS coordinates and mapping out exactly where that limousine was driving. Someone should have been aware that posting content from that particular neighborhood would create an immediate and visceral backlash. But insiders whisper that Meghan's team was so focused on getting the perfect shot, on capturing that effortless luxury vibe, that they completely overlooked the historical significance of where they were filming. And now Harry was paying the emotional price for what sources describe as Meghan's calculated gamble that went catastrophically wrong. The internet has seen plenty of Meghan Markle controversies over the years, but nothing quite prepared anyone for the absolute firestorm that erupted over this Paris video. Within hours of posting, the comment section became a war zone. Thousands upon thousands of people expressing shock, disgust, and genuine disbelief that she could be so tone-deaf. And this time, the criticism wasn't just coming from the usual suspects. Royal commentators who had spent years defending Meghan's every move were suddenly struggling to find justifications. Kinsey Schofield, a prominent voice in royal coverage, didn't hold back. She pointed out the glaring contradiction that everyone was thinking. This is the same woman who constantly tells us she's Diana 2.0. Shouldn't she be aware of something like this? The criticism cut deep because it exposed what many saw as Meghan's fundamental hypocrisy. She wanted the Diana comparisons when they elevated her status, but apparently showed zero sensitivity to the actual reality of Diana's death. Social media exploded with variations of the same devastating observation. People couldn't understand how someone could be so calculated about invoking Diana's memory for sympathy and brand building, yet so careless about the place where Diana actually died. The phrase that kept appearing over and over was cruelly simple. She's 1 mile away from where Princess Diana took her last breath. 1 mile. That's not an accident. That's not an oversight. That's a choice. Even some of Meghan's celebrity supporters went conspicuously silent. The Hollywood friends who usually rushed to her defense on social media were nowhere to be found. Industry insiders whisper that several A-list celebrities who had publicly aligned themselves with the Sussexes were privately horrified by the video. According to sources close to various celebrity circles, some of them were texting each other asking what on earth Meghan was thinking, but none of them were willing to say it publicly. The British press predictably had an absolute field day, but what made this different from previous Sussex scandals was that even American outlets, which typically gave Meghan more sympathetic coverage, were struggling to defend her. Think pieces started appearing with headlines like, "When does invoking Diana's legacy cross a line?" and "The Paris video Meghan Markle should never have posted." Royal experts were being interviewed on major networks, and nearly all of them were saying the same thing. This was indefensible. Royal historian Dr. Tessa Dunlop summarized what millions were thinking. If she didn't try to paint herself as Diana 2.0, this might be considered a stretch, but she's constantly telling us that she's the new Diana. And therein lies the problem that Meghan apparently never anticipated. You can't build your entire public persona around being Diana's spiritual successor and then show this level of insensitivity about the place where Diana's life ended. The public sees straight through it. And the most damaging part? Sources claim this wasn't just random internet trolls or British tabloids manufacturing outrage. This was ordinary people, Sussex supporters, neutral observers, all reaching the same conclusion. Meghan had crossed a line. Insiders whisper that this Paris video crisis has exposed cracks in the Sussex marriage that have been forming for years. According to sources close to the couple, this wasn't just another argument that would blow over after a few days of tension. This was the kind of fundamental disagreement that makes you question whether two people are actually compatible anymore, whether they share the same values, whether they even understand each other at all. Reports are surfacing that Harry moved into the guest house and didn't come out for days. Staff members allegedly heard nothing from his side of the property, except occasional sounds of him pacing late at night. Sources claim he was processing not just the video itself, but what Meghan's response to his pain revealed about their relationship. She had seen him at his most vulnerable, heard him explain why this mattered so deeply, and allegedly chose her content strategy over his emotional well-being anyway. But here's what makes this crisis so much more dangerous than previous Sussex dramas. According to insiders, this fight touched on every unresolved tension that's been building between them since they left the royal family. Harry allegedly feels like he sacrificed everything for Meghan. His family, his country, his military titles, his relationship with William. He walked away from the only life he'd ever known because she said she couldn't survive in that world. And now sources whisper he's wondering what he actually got in return. Word on the street suggests Harry has been questioning Meghan's motives more and more over the past year. The Netflix deals, the podcast, the constant media appearances that she claimed to hate when they were in the palace. Insiders speculate that he's starting to see a pattern he didn't want to acknowledge before. That maybe Meghan didn't actually want privacy and a quiet life. Maybe she just wanted fame and attention on her own terms, without royal protocol getting in the way. And this Paris video allegedly crystallized all of those doubts into one devastating realization. According to sources close to the situation, Harry told friends that if Meghan truly understood him, truly loved him the way she claimed, she never would have posted that video. She would have known instinctively that some places were sacred, some wounds too deep to be used as backdrops for content creation. The fact that she didn't see the problem until the backlash hit supposedly tells him everything he needs to know. Palace insiders claim Meghan, for her part, is feeling increasingly isolated and defensive. She allegedly believes Harry is being manipulated by public opinion, that he's letting the haters win by making this into such a massive issue. Sources suggest she thinks he's being weak, letting his trauma control both of their lives, and that fundamental disconnect, that inability to see each other's perspectives, is reportedly creating a chasm between them that may be impossible to bridge. Friends of the couple whisper that they're barely speaking now. When they do interact, it's cold, formal, completely devoid of the warmth they used to show each other, and people close to both of them are starting to ask the question nobody wanted to voice. Can this marriage actually survive? Back in London, sources claim the royal family watched the Paris video disaster unfold with a mixture of horror and grim vindication. According to insiders close to Buckingham Palace, senior royals had predicted something like this would eventually happen. They had always believed that Meghan fundamentally misunderstood what being connected to Diana's legacy actually meant, and now, they allegedly feel their worst suspicions have been confirmed in the most public way imaginable. Word in royal circles is that Prince William was absolutely appalled when he saw the video. Sources close to the Prince of Wales suggest he immediately called several trusted advisors, his voice shaking with anger as he asked if they had seen what Meghan had done. William, who shares Harry's trauma about losing their mother in that tunnel, allegedly viewed this as a personal attack not just on Harry, but on Diana's memory itself. Insiders whisper that he told confidants this proved everything he'd been saying about Meghan for years, that she was using their family's pain for her own gain. According to those close to the palace, Catherine was equally horrified but for different reasons. Sources claim the Princess of Wales has always tried to give Meghan the benefit of the doubt, always hoped that maybe the media had exaggerated her behavior. But this Paris video allegedly shattered whatever remaining sympathy Catherine had. Royal insiders suggest she told William that no amount of media training or cultural differences could explain this level of insensitivity. This was just cruel. King Charles, according to palace sources, received multiple briefings about the video and the escalating backlash. Insiders claim he was particularly troubled by the timing. The monarchy has been working overtime to rehabilitate its public image, to show compassion and modern relevance. And then Meghan posts content that makes her look callous about Diana's death, reminding everyone of the darkest chapter in royal history. Sources whisper that Charles views this as yet another Sussex crisis that damages the entire family's reputation. But here's the truly devastating part. According to royal insiders, this Paris video has allegedly ended any remaining possibility of reconciliation between Harry and his family. Palace sources claim that William had been slowly, quietly opening the door to maybe, eventually, finding some path toward forgiveness. Not full reconciliation, but at least civil communication. That door has now reportedly slammed shut permanently. The buzz behind palace walls is that senior royals believe Harry must see the truth now. That Meghan doesn't respect his family, doesn't respect his mother's memory, doesn't respect the trauma that shaped him. Royal insiders whisper that they're waiting for Harry to finally wake up and realize what they claim they've known all along, that Meghan has been using him, using Diana's legacy, using the royal connection for her own ambitions. And the cruelest part, according to sources close to the palace, is that the royal family can't even reach out to Harry anymore. They can't tell him they understand his pain over this video. They can't offer support or sympathy, because Harry burned those bridges himself when he left. And now insiders whisper he's completely alone with a wife who apparently doesn't understand him at all. Behind the scenes, sources claim Meghan's PR team has been in absolute crisis mode since the Paris video exploded. According to insiders in Hollywood publicity circles, emergency meetings were called immediately after the backlash started gaining momentum. Her advisors allegedly realized within hours that this wasn't going to blow over like previous controversies. This one had real staying power, real damage potential, and they needed a strategy fast. But here's where things get complicated. Industry insiders whisper that Meghan's team is completely divided on how to handle this disaster. One faction allegedly wants her to issue a heartfelt apology, to acknowledge that she made a mistake and didn't fully consider the significance of the location. They argue that showing vulnerability and genuine remorse could actually help rehabilitate her image. People might forgive insensitivity if she owns it and shows real understanding of why it hurt so many people. The other faction, according to sources close to her inner circle, thinks apologizing would be a catastrophic mistake. They allegedly believe it would validate every criticism that's ever been thrown at Meghan, would make her look weak and give ammunition to her haters. This group reportedly wants her to either ignore the controversy entirely and let it die down naturally, or to reframe the narrative as yet another example of unfair persecution, make herself the victim once again. Word on the street suggests Meghan herself is leaning toward the second option. Sources claim she's furious about the backlash, believing it's overblown and manufactured by people who are looking for any excuse to attack her. She allegedly told her team that she's tired of apologizing for things that wouldn't be controversial if anyone else did them. Insiders whisper that she views this as another racist double standard, another attempt to hold her to impossible standards while giving white royals a pass for far worse behavior. But her PR team allegedly warned her that playing the victim card this time could backfire spectacularly. According to industry sources, even her most sympathetic media contacts are struggling to spin this one in her favor. The Diana connection is just too sensitive, too raw, and trying to make this about race or persecution when it's really about basic respect for where Harry's mother died could permanently damage whatever credibility she has left. Then there's the Harry factor, that nobody knows how to navigate. Sources close to the situation claim Meghan's team is terrified about what happens if Harry publicly breaks with her over this. If he gives even the slightest hint that he agrees the video was inappropriate, that he's hurt by her decision, the narrative completely collapses. Meghan can't claim persecution and overreaction if her own husband is on the other side. Insiders whisper that Meghan is allegedly pressuring Harry to release a statement supporting her, to stand by her publicly and condemn the criticism as harassment. But according to sources close to Harry, he's refusing. For the first time in their relationship, he's reportedly unwilling to defend her. And that silence, royal watchers speculate, speaks louder than any statement ever could. This Paris video crisis has evolved into something far bigger than a single social media misstep. According to insiders watching the Sussex marriage from the inside, this represents a fundamental breaking point that's been building for years. Every unresolved argument, every sacrifice Harry made, every moment where Meghan allegedly prioritized her ambitions over his feelings, all of it has reportedly come crashing down in this one devastating moment. Sources close to Harry whisper that he's been doing some serious soul-searching over the past few weeks. He's allegedly asking himself questions he never wanted to face. Did he give up his entire family, his country, his identity, for a woman who doesn't actually understand him? Did he mistake attraction and shared grievances against the palace for genuine compatibility? And most painfully, would his mother approve of the choices he's made and the woman he chose? Royal experts suggest this crisis forces Harry into an impossible position. If he publicly supports Meghan over this video, he betrays his own trauma and his mother's memory. But if he speaks out against her or even stays silent, he validates every criticism the royal family and the British public ever made about their relationship. He's trapped between loyalty to his wife and honoring the pain that has defined his entire life. And Meghan, according to those close to her, is facing her own reckoning. Industry insiders claim she genuinely didn't anticipate this level of backlash. She thought she could navigate the Diana comparisons on her own terms, use the legacy when it benefited her brand, and ignore the painful realities when they didn't. But this Paris video has allegedly shown her that the public won't let her have it both ways. You can't build your identity around being Diana 2.0 and then disrespect the ground where Diana died. The question everyone in royal circles is now asking is brutally simple. Can this marriage survive? Sources claim the couple is barely coexisting in the same house. Harry allegedly spends most of his time away from Meghan, traveling for his charitable work or hiding out in the guest house. Meghan is reportedly throwing herself into business meetings and content creation, pretending everything is fine while the foundation of her marriage crumbles beneath her. Friends on both sides whisper that divorce conversations have started happening in private. Not publicly, not officially, but the word is being mentioned for the first time. Lawyers' names are allegedly being quietly passed around, and people close to the couple are starting to prepare for the possibility that the Sussex fairy tale might end in the most spectacular public divorce since Charles and Diana. So what happens next? Does Harry finally stand up to Meghan and demand she show actual respect for his mother's memory? Does Meghan double down and continue building her brand regardless of his feelings? Or do they both realize that this marriage was built on shared grievances rather than genuine love and compatibility? Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Harry and Meghan can survive this crisis? Or is this the beginning of the end? Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.